What's up? Welcome back. In today's video, we're talking about track laying tips every model railroader should know on the Model Railroad Show. For those of you who have seen a few videos, I've had a fly buzzing around here, and I got two of them today. This is the bug assault, best thing for flies ever. And if you know, you know, and if you don't know, I'll put the link in the description. Totally not Model Railroad related, but definitely good to have. So first thing first, these aren't in any order. Let's get right into it. You need a solid base. All right, this is most people use foam. I mean, you can lay on plywood. Obviously, a lot of model railroaders now are using foam. I use foam here. This is EPS expanded polystyrene foam. EPS bad. It's messy. It flakes. It looks like all those little white crumbles that are put together. I also think it's a little louder and just doesn't hold up for laying track on. This is the XPS, the expanded polystyrene. This is that home insulation that we all know that we lay with, and this is what you should use if you're going to use foam. All right, so different types. You can buy Home Depot, Lowe's, wherever. And so second thing, use Cork Roadbed. You can use cork or foam. I prefer the cork. I like I've never, I used foam for a little tester. I just find cork is very workable, very cuttable. I like the way that you can, sand it once it's down. It's a little bit more forgiving, leveling and not taking the contour of something you have below. I just prefer cork, but use a roadbed. Roadbed does a lot of things. One, it's going to help deaden the sound, gives you that track kind of profile that railroads so often have. Also, if you have sidings, and sidings are sometimes lower than that roadbed, and I've done that a couple of times here on my railroad here, you can have some height variance between your siding and your main line, and the transition to come off a cork roadbed is very easy to do on a siding. The other thing is when we're laying track and you're laying your curves, and I have Flextrack. You can use sectional track, obviously. You can use Cato Unitrack, but which you wouldn't then need roadbed for, obviously. But mostly this is focused around Flextrack. This is Pico. This is what I use. Microengineering makes it. Atlas makes it. And on the Pico, what you'll see is when you flip it over, one side of the rails of the ties is solid, and the other side has a gap every fourth rail. Very important. This is not by accident. When you lay your curve, you need to make sure that the gapped side is on the inside of the curve, and that allows the ties to come together, and it will allow you to make a nice smooth curve. Now, if you do not do that, your curve, you will not have a successful time laying curve. This track's going to kink. It's going to be really hard to manage. It's not going to it's not going to bend how you need it to bend. So utmost importance, put the gap to the inside. The other thing that I like about using Flextrack is you can make transitions into your curves, and you see a actual railroad, it doesn't go from straight just to being in a curve, especially on the main lines. It eases into that. There's like an easement going into that curve, and Flextrack allows you to do that really easily, completely seamlessly. And when you draw it out, you just have a wider radius that goes into a tighter radius, into your wider radius, and out of the curve. All right, really, really easy to do. And it makes the railroad look better. It makes your turns look better, and it makes the trains going into the turn seem better when they are on your railroad. So that being said, let's talk about radiuses for a while. Just because sectional track comes in 9.75 radius and Cato Unitrack comes in 9.75 radius does not mean that 9.75 radius is a good deal. It's great for people with very limited space. If you're using smaller engines, smaller locomotives rather. But the thing is, even though a lot of stuff now, like Broadway Limited, has larger steam engines that can run on those radii, one, they will look better on a larger radii, and two, they'll perform better. So my layout, my minimum radius on my mainline radius now is really what we're talking about. My minimum radius on my mainline is 13 inches. All right, which is for end scale, it's plenty. And I only have I think two curves on this that are 13. Everything else is up around the 15 to 17 radius space there. So again, just because you can have a tighter radius doesn't mean you should. Your trains will look better. They will perform better on a slightly larger radius. Sometimes you're handicapped and you're tight for space. You got to do what you have to do. That being said, usually when you see minimum radiuses for large layouts, it's the minimum radius for the main line, because a lot of times some of these sidings and other things will have a tighter radius because switchers don't require that. These small switchers don't require those large radiuses, and you know, the bigger engines, bigger locomotives, I keep calling them engines, bigger locomotives, you know, on the main line need that, especially the steamers. If you have old end scale steamers where all the drivers have flanges, you're not going to be able to run 9 3/4 radius. It's really simple. Laying track, you got your road bed down, you glue your road bed down. I used liquid nails to glue my road bed down. That stuff's never coming up. And then I sand it, right? Sand it nice. You can see the profile's really smooth in this shot here. And then when it comes time to put the track down, this is where things, you know, can really make or break your railroad, whether you love it or hate it, whether it's a pleasure to run or it's a nightmare to run. And when you lay your track down, once you got to make sure, obviously, everything's level, but DAP beats nails all day long. Use DAP. It's basic, you know, basic caulk. Put down a thin layer of this DAP. This isn't something I came up with. This isn't groundbreaking. You've been watching the guys on the Model Railroader guys and then the trains.com guys lay track like this for a long time. It holds your track well. It doesn't have to hold it forever because you're going to ballast it. That being said, I use nails at my turnouts, because your turnouts, especially the Pico turnouts, they have those 4 holes for nails. I do nail down the turnouts at the switch mechanism, because it's taking a little bit of a beating. It's honestly probably not even completely necessary, but you're getting a lot of motion there. You're throwing switches back and forth. So I do leave track nails there. The other thing I do that might be a little bit off is when I do nail down a piece of track, especially temporarily, if I have to put a track nail in there, I don't drill through the tie. I put the nail down right next to the tie and just catch the nail head with the tie, and that's enough. Because once that DAP dries and once you're going to ballast it and you pull that out, one, you don't have a hole in your tie, and two, they're much easier to pull out without damaging the tie or anything like that. So I find that much easier. If you're using Flextrack, all right, and you need to cut track, do not go to the garage and get a pair of nippers. Get yourself a pair of Xuron rail cutters, all right? These are flush on one side, they're angled on the other, and they will take a beating over time. They'll get you through, you know, whatever layout you have, but eventually they'll get dull. All right? These are not sprue cutters. These are sprue cutters, all right? Not all sprue cutters are rail nippers, but eventually all rail nippers will become sprue cutters, if you understand what I'm saying. So, again, like everything I have here on the channel, I will leave a link down below to some Xuron rail nippers. You can buy these at Model Railroad Show. You can buy these at your local hobby shop. You can buy these on Amazon. And I've even seen these at the Hobby Lobby. All right, but not to be confused with a little pair of sprue nippers, which are very handy to have if you're building any type of model. Feeder wires. Every piece of rail on my railroad has a feeder wire. If there's a cut and a break, I drop a feeder wire on the next spot. Once you get used to doing it, it's fine. Feeders. It'll provide consistency in the way your trains run, consistency in the voltage of your track. And yes, I know when you have a circle of Kato. You can use, you know, pretty decent sized circle of Kato Unitrack, and your train will be fine going all the way around. When you're dealing with building a layout, especially a layout of this magnitude, you're going to have multiple locomotives, you know, pulling juice off of there. You know, sound locomotives are going to pull a little bit more juice. So you want the power to be nice and evenly distributed, and feeders are key. So I mentioned soldering. You have to solder joints. They really help the integrity of your track. However, don't solder all the joints. All right. I can't say enough. I think one of the mistakes I made here on this model railroad is I soldered a lot of the joints to my turnouts, which is going to make my turnouts a little bit harder to replace should I need to replace any of them. I haven't had to yet. But you don't have to solder all the joints. As a matter of fact, if you solder all of your joints all the way around a model railroad, it's going to lead to a problem, because inevitably 90% of us build a model railroad in a room that's not completely temperature controlled. I mean, a lot of people are in bedrooms, but I'm in a basement. A lot of people are in basements. Some people are in attics, garages, especially in Europe. You're in London, you're probably in your attic. It seems to be where most people are building them. Your track and everything, that model railroad needs space to expand and contract. And I don't get a whole lot of it on here, but I left gaps. There are a few spots where I probably didn't gap enough, and you can see the insulated joiners that I use on my turnouts. You could see that gap change with the seasons a little bit. Again, not too much, but a little bit. But I'm telling you, if you solder every joint, you're going to have trouble. So yeah, I think that's about it. It's a quick video, but again, some of the basics. Don't be afraid. Don't be afraid of laying Flextrack. Don't be intimidated. This stuff, you can weather it up real nice. It looks good. These ties, especially in this Pico, I know that ties aren't, you know, US spacing, but I mean, hey, we're an N scale here. It's pretty small. But even in N scale, these ties have some wood grain detail that when you get into dry brushing, it can look, you know, it can look really good. Don't be afraid of, you know, the Flextrack. It can look really good. That being said, if you want to use sectional, especially, you know, your first layout, knock yourself out and use sectional. If you want to use Kato, hey man, I'm not judging. I've obviously got a lot of Kato here that I'm going to do something with. But I did use Flextrack for this layout. So hey, thanks for watching, and hit that subscribe button, give me the thumbs up, ring the bell, and let me know what kind of track you're using on your layout, and I will catch you in the next one. All right, later.